stage another lady. This lady's so graceful. She is going to knock you guys dead. So without further ado, big up Ameliapoamz. Come to the stage, babe.
We don't know what we're made of. Something we're afraid of might improve.
So because of the way I speak, you seem to think my intelligence is weak. Well, it's a shame you feel that way, bro, because I'll have you know the intelligence I've attained can be translated in ways not just for the plain and corrupted. See, language is the transport for knowledge, uninterrupted by how I say it. Now, if you get it, you got it, and I'm afraid if you don't, I can always give you a lesson on the streets. I see you looking down at me from your ivory tower. It's funny how the ones with power are the ones who decide what's proper and how we should speak, because bro, cuz, brother, all terms of endearment, so for you to think it's threatening is kind of peak. Peak meaning it's kind of unfortunate. It's unfortunate how Shakespeare was praised on the choice of his words, but when a brother from the ends opens his mouth, he goes unheard. The way I talk ain't a gimmick. A culture formed by oppression and discrimination isn't one to be mimicked, innit? So when I open my mouth, don't assume that I'm dumb. Don't assume that I was raised by a single mum and I live in a council house and I struggle to get by, because those reasons are the reasons why I talk the way that I do. And I don't know if it's the case for you, but the case for me is a systematic agenda to fellow families not part of the privileged members, creates a magnetic repel, keeping those families living in a hell called the ghetto. And when a common denominator forms a common ground, we then create a common sound to recognise that we are from around here, the ends. Thank you, that was my first one. Needed to get it out. So that was my first poem that I wrote when I went to uni, and racism hits you differently when you go to uni, especially when it's out of London, and I was in the middle of nowhere, and when I first got there I was like searching for the first black person I saw for like 3 hours, and I was thinking, nah, I made a mistake, like what am I doing here? But they were all like, oh yeah, in it bruv, and I was thinking, I ain't said bruv to you once, why do you think I talk like that? And then they all thought I was going to drop out, but nah, I stayed and I got higher marks than they did, so... but the next poem, oh yeah, sorry, I'm Ameliapoamz, by the way. Sorry, yeah, I'm Ameliapoamz. This is actually my ends, actually. Any East Londoners in the building? Yes, East London, massive, that's it. Okay, I'm gonna go into the next poem, and this is a poem that I wrote about why I started writing poetry, because a lot of people always ask you, oh, why did you start writing? So I thought, why not I put it in a poem? So it makes it easier. So this is called The Realest Shit I Ever Wrote. You're gonna learn a lot about me today. This is the realest shit I ever wrote. I started writing poetry when my heart broke. And no, I didn't break because of a breakup. It broke more on the idea that I didn't think that I was good enough. The sun didn't rise, my eyes never dried, and fucking hell, I haven't cried so much in my life, I never felt a pain like it. Depression knocking on my door, I swear to you I'm trying to fight it, but my glass is screaming for more. But I've been drinking from the bottle, lost the cap, so now I've got to finish it all. Dancing in clubs on Tuesday nights, no sleep, no fucks, I'm strolling to work like I'ma do the same shit again tonight. I'm hanging back with texting my girl like, what you saying for tonight? And she's off work because of a car crash, because that same night that we went out, because I found out that my fella was fucking trash and he was cheating. And I know that everything happens for a reason, but really the same night that my 5-year relationship comes to an end, I could have lost my best friend. But luckily she was cool and she was written off work. So once she recovered, I was constantly out drinking with her. And then she tells me some devastating news. So I'm round hers with a bottle of wine and we're trying to reminisce on good times, all whilst fearing the worst, but it was kind of comforting to be around other people that were hurt. And now we're turned and we're looking for a motive, and we're gonna find one, because all I know is I can't bear the thought of being left with my thoughts. I needed loud music to drown it out, I needed flashing lights to block it out, and I needed alcohol to knock me out. And fucking hell, drugs really do make you feel numb, because I'm in the club dancing and talking to everyone like my whole life isn't going wrong, like I'm not facing an eviction, like my past relationship wasn't based on fiction, like my existence isn't on the brink of extinction, and like this alcohol isn't becoming an addiction. And it reached a point where I didn't want to wake up. I'll close my eyes every night thinking I've had enough. Like I hate life. Why me? It's so unfair, and I generally feel like nobody actually cares. And the relationship between my mother and I was falling to shit. We were both going through the same thing, but we had different ways of dealing with it. Next minute I know she's being prescribed some bullshit, probably something I could have helped with or prevented if I wasn't being selfish and running away from the problem. And that was the problem. I was running away from it. Spent all my savings on raving, fucking drinking in the shard to E&J bottles in the park until I felt like my dad tried to speak to me. You see, I was probably so close to death that he became closer to me. You see, he passed away when I was 5 and he used to read a lot when he was alive, because suddenly I felt the urge to pick up a book. And it wasn't the Bible, but it was on spiritual enlightenment, and I was hooked. And the first line said, I can't live with myself. And this line best described my state of mind. Then it broke down the flaw in the line was the differentiation between the self and the I. I can't live with myself. Why was there two people trying to coexist? Then it explained that suffering came from the urge to resist. And pain and suffering weren't the same. It was my negative thought pattern allowing it to persist. You see, I didn't want to accept what was happening. But what was happening, and I was still very much in control of my happiness, but my negative thought pattern wasn't allowing this. Then it reminded me how to breathe and be still. And with every breath, I was reminded that I was meant to be here still. And then my existence became clear, and creativity flooded me and gave me my own form of therapy, which strengthened my empathy for those going through the same shit as me. So now I feel it's a responsibility to change the things I would have wanted changed for me. So really, when I look back at those times, it was a lesson in my eyes, a blessing in disguise, and probably the most important time of my life, because I started to write. Thank you. My next two poems are for the women in the room. There's a lot of women in the room. I'm a woman as well, and I love being a woman. And this next poem I've got is about basically how things have really been flipped. Personally, I believe women, we're up here, like we bring life into this world. There's nothing more important than that. So this is a poem called Crossover. The impossibilities of a female. Countless probabilities in the detail of her design, channeling all things intertwined in her mind, body and soul, accomplishing any goal she puts her mind to, guided by the light her soul shines through. I know what they told you, but she makes the world go round. Arched over Geb, I think that's what they found when they claimed the earth was round. She gives birth to the sun, and her name is Newt. Goddess of the sky, held by her roots, earth, wind and fire, she surrounds with her curves, the ones you desire whilst ignoring her words. Temptress sent from the Most High. Knowledge is the key in her eyes. Sinfulness disguised as power, or power disguised as sin. Floating inside her 9 months, she held you in to then hold you down. Like gravity, you need her around, her majesty. She comes in all different bodily forms, just to make her visible in the physical form. But if her physical doesn't fit the norm, then we make her cry. Why? Because history will tell you her story in his way. Ill-educated up to this day, we still seem to think that she is beneath us when it was him that was made from dust. With her chromosomes with an X and his with a Y, she marks the spot and he only questions why. She's king. The algebra is written in between her thighs. She's king. Mother Nature, without her the population dies. She's king. We seem to think God is a he. Again, all lies. She's king. It's the truth. It's the truth. Stop questioning, just realise. Overflowing with love. So powerful she disposes of blood once a month, and her womb reflecting galaxies, and her ovaries looking like what hangs from trees or balancing scales. And the balance is in her, and through jealousy the man prevailed. The man isn't her keeper, she keeps herself. The man simply needs her while she weaves his soul in wealth. And he protects her, yes, not because she's weaker, but because she's precious. And her beauty leaves him breathless, and he needs her to nurse his young, to nurse his offspring until they are sprung. All the impossibilities of a female, but she's a king and she will always remain one. Thank you. I've got one last one because I'm conscious of time, and this is another one, basically more about self-love. Like, as I said in my second poem, I was in a 5-year-long relationship that went down the pan, and I think when you come out of relationships, you find yourself in this space of like, okay, like, will anyone like me again? Is something wrong with me? Whatever. And that's the moment when I realised, nah, I haven't got time for this. I need to be moving. I move. So this is called Just Beautiful. Last night I gave myself a hug. I got my arms and I wrapped them around me tight enough. It felt a bit weird at first, I'm not gonna lie, but I'm trying out this thing called self-love. See, I wanna love everything about me. exclusively, unapologetically, but somehow I was made to believe I wasn't made beautifully because I don't look like what they portray beauty to be, but beauty's in the eye of the beholder. And he calls me beautiful only to get his leg over, but that's all I want to hear, so I fall for his words like a shot soldier and just lie there, bare. But the war isn't over. Constantly fighting the words, she's ugly, she ain't even that nice, her friends are, and yeah, she's alright. And then he calls me beautiful and I'm weak. So easily knocked off my feet, I soak up the sweet words he speaks to me, a couple kisses on my neck and I give him me. And then he changed. We used to speak every day and now he hasn't replied to me for about a week. My whole self-worth becomes deprived as I only seem to thrive off the validation of others. And a storm is brewing in my mind, going over the lies I even bought of this brother. Like, damn, I'm going to delete my Instagram page because the pictures of me make me feel sick. And I don't look like the girls on the Explore page, so I might as well cut it. My whole mood is affected because I feel rejected, completely unexpected as I got lost in the sauce again, and I'm sorry. My whole mood, woo, my tongue is like, girl, chill. My whole mood is affected because I feel rejected, completely unexpected as I got lost in the sauce again and neglected myself again, of course. Like, girl, what is it that you're looking for? What is it that you're yearning for? The emptiness inside you is empty because you haven't entered it before. There's a whole library of books on you that you haven't read before, and there's voices inside you you're choosing to ignore, screaming, girl, you're beautiful. You're made just the way you're supposed to be. The universe makes no mistakes, so listen to me carefully. Let's have this conversation. When you walk around not knowing yourself and not owning yourself, you give off this certain type of vibration, one that is preyed on by people that feed off the insecure. You need to know yourself inside out. You need to love yourself more. You need to build yourself from the inside out, build a strong constitution because you can't just fall, and then you need to accept that this is you. Do you think the sun is envious of the moon? No, because comparison is the killer of all joy. And girl, please don't tell me that you're crying over this boy. What? Because he didn't see you for your undeniable beauty. That's his problem. Now let's keep it moving. I want you to try something. I want you to call off the search and be on your own for a moment. Be single and own it. Stop preying on the images of the girls on the gram and stop thinking to yourself, oh my God, how fat I am, and just do you. Because what you manifest inside is what radiates out of you, and then your spirit becomes lifted, and it should be because you're gifted with the ability to bring life into this world. Or did you forget that one, girl? Built in a way to carry a child for about 274 days, and you don't think you're strong enough to carry yourself with your head held high? Girl, bye. So I want you to try something. I want you to close your eyes and get your arms and wrap them around you tight. This is the interactive bit, so you can all do it. Guys included as well. Self-love is for everyone. It's called giving yourself a hug. It's called self-love. Thank you everyone for listening.
Ameliapoamz, people, yeah. Yo, let me just, I just want to say something. I just want to address something real quick, yeah? Because we had Mystery come up here and talk about him being a trash boy. Then you had Amelia talking about she's going through whatever she's going through. Not all men are trash. No. Not all men are trash. So I challenge a woman, any woman, you like, I want you to, this is your homework. Do a poem about a good man. Yeah? Do it, yeah. And the next show, come up here and perform, because I'm done with all this talk about you not thinking we're trash.